It all began harmlessly enough when Emily and her friends planned a bachelorette party for Natalie in Miami. While packing her suitcase, Emily reassured me with a warm smile. It's just for 2 days. We'll sip cocktails, soak up the sun, and celebrate Natalie's last moments of singlehood. When she returned, something felt different. She was quieter. Her thoughts seemed elsewhere. That evening, while we sat together on the couch, her phone buzzed. She hastily grabbed it, let out a nervous laugh, and placed it face down on the table. "Who was that?" I asked. "Just a friend," she answered too quickly, still caught up in the excitement of her trip. I brushed it off, convincing myself I was overanalyzing. Days passed, and Emily's behavior grew more peculiar. She stayed up late, endlessly scrolling through her phone. She was distant, avoiding any affection with excuses of exhaustion or stress. One evening, I decided to address it directly. Leaning against the bedroom doorframe, arms crossed, I asked, "Emily, is something wrong?" She looked up from her phone, startled. "I don't know what you mean," she replied, her smile forced, her face momentarily paling before she recovered. "Ryan, you're imagining things." Wanting to believe her, I let it go for a while. 2 days later, as I was preparing to leave the house, I realized my car keys were missing. I checked the usual spots, the drawer by the door, the kitchen counter. Nothing. Then I recalled that Emily had borrowed my car earlier. Checking her purse, I found the keys, but my fingers also brushed against a folded receipt. Miami Incorporated Tattoo Studio. The date coincided with her bachelorette weekend. When Emily returned, her eyes widened when she saw the receipt in my hand. "Oh, Natalie dared me to get a tiny one," she stammered. "Where is it?" I questioned, skepticism creeping into my voice. Hesitating briefly, she lowered the waistband of her jeans slightly, revealing a small heart inked near her hip. At first, it seemed innocent, but when I looked closer, I noticed a faint letter R in the center. My stomach lurched. "Emily, what does this mean?" Her face flushed as she shifted uncomfortably. "It's just a cute tribute to you, Ryan. It's really nothing." My chest tightened, though I nodded, forcing myself to stay calm despite the storm brewing inside me. The next day, I casually asked Natalie about the tattoo. "Oh, yeah," she hesitated. It was a wild night. She was, a little tipsy. Emily wasn't a heavy drinker. She never made rash decisions. That night, unable to silence my suspicions, I did what I never thought I would. I searched her phone. While she showered, a message appeared on her screen. The sender's name was Megan, but the words made my blood run cold. "I can't wait to see you again." A deep sense of unease settled in my gut. Emily had changed her passcode since her trip, but after 2 attempts, I cracked it. Opening the conversation with Megan, I found only that one message. Suspicious, I saved the number. Later, I casually asked, "Who's Megan?" Emily's reaction was immediate. Her eyes widened before she quickly masked it with a smile. "Oh, just a friend from work." Her nervous laughter and evasive response only deepened my doubts. The next day, I dialed the number. After a few rings, a male voice answered. "Hello." "Hi, I'm looking for Megan," I said, my pulse racing. A pause. "There's no Megan here, man. You've got the wrong number." Ice flooded my veins. I muttered a quick apology and hung up, my mind spinning with anger and confusion. That night, while Emily dozed on the couch, I retrieved her phone once more. This time, I checked the archived messages. There was the full conversation with Megan. My breath caught as I read. The dates matched her Miami trip. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was betrayal. Last night was unforgettable. The first message read. My hands trembled as I continued. "I can't stop thinking about you. I need to see you again, asterisk, asterisk." Then I saw it, the real name behind the disguise. Emily had been talking to someone named Richard. My throat tightened as I read her responses. Filled with longing and emotion, she described how he made her feel breathless, how she couldn't get him out of her mind. This wasn't just flirtation. This was something far worse. IT all started innocently enough when they planned a bachelorette party for Emily's closest friend, Natalie, in Miami. Emily packed her suitcase with a disarming smile and assured me it would only be for 2 days. We'll drink cocktails, go to the beach, and celebrate Natalie's last days as a single woman, she had said. But when Emily returned, something was off. At first, I couldn't pinpoint it. She was quieter than usual, distracted, almost as if her mind was somewhere else. That evening, as we sat on the couch, her phone buzzed. She quickly grabbed it, let out a nervous laugh, and placed it face down on the table. "Who was that?" I asked. "Oh, just Natalie," she replied too quickly, still grinning from her trip. Perhaps I should have pushed further, but I dismissed the feeling, telling myself I was just being paranoid. Another week passed, and Emily's behavior remained strange. She was jittery, distant, and stayed up late at night, scrolling through her phone into the early hours. She began avoiding intimacy, turning down my advances with excuses about stress and exhaustion. One night, I had enough. "Emily," I said, standing in the bedroom doorway with my arms crossed. She looked up from her phone, startled. "What's going on?" "I'm not sure what you mean," she said, her voice wavering. She sat on the edge of the bed, her face momentarily pale, before forcing a smile. "Ryan, you're being paranoid." I wanted to believe her, so I let it go, for a time. 2 days later, as I was getting ready to leave the house, I couldn't find my car keys. I checked the usual places, the drawer by the door, the kitchen counter, but they were nowhere to be found. Then I remembered Emily had borrowed my car that morning, because hers had broken down. I reached into her purse, hanging by the coat rack, to find the keys, but also stumbled upon a receipt from Miami Incorporated Tattoo Studio. The date matched her bachelorette trip. When Emily returned home, her eyes widened at the sight of the receipt in my hand. "Oh, Natalie dared me to get a tiny one," she stammered. "Where's the tattoo?" I asked, doubtful. After hesitating, she lowered the waistband of her jeans slightly, revealing a small heart near her hip. At first glance, it seemed innocent enough, but upon closer inspection, I noticed something. Inside the heart was a letter R. My stomach dropped. "What is this, Emily?" My voice hardened. Her cheeks flushed as she shuffled uneasily. "I thought it was a cute gesture for Ryan," she said with a nervous smile. "It's not a big deal." My chest tightened. I nodded slowly, though everything inside me screamed for answers. The next day, I called Natalie. Keeping my tone light, I asked, "Quick question. What's up with Emily getting a tattoo in Miami?" There was a pause. Yeah," Natalie said hesitantly. "It was a crazy night. She was pretty drunk. But Emily didn't drink much, and she wasn't the type to get a tattoo on a whim. That night, I did something I never thought I would. I snooped. While Emily was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. A message from someone named Megan caught my eye. The text made my blood run cold. "I want to meet you again." She had changed her passcode since Miami, but I knew her well enough to guess it. After 2 tries, I was in. The message thread with Megan was almost empty, except for that single text. Suspicious, I copied the number and saved it to my phone. When Emily came out of the shower, I asked, "Who's Megan?" Her eyes widened before she forced another smile. "Oh, Megan? She's a co-worker, a friend." I wasn't buying it. Her nervous laughter and evasive tone only fueled my doubts. The next day, I called the number. After a few rings, a man answered. "Hello. Hi, I'm looking for Megan," I said, my voice shaking. A pause. "There's no Megan here, dude. You must have the wrong number." I froze, apologizing quickly. I hung up, my face burning with anger and confusion. That night, as Emily slept on the couch, I checked her phone again. This time, I found a conversation with Megan hidden in the archives. My stomach dropped as I scrolled. The dates lined up with her Miami trip. My hands trembled as I pieced everything together. This wasn't paranoia anymore, it was betrayal. "Last night was fantastic." One of Megan's messages read, "I can't stop thinking about you and can't wait to see you again." My breath caught as I continued reading. But then I saw something that made my blood freeze. Emily had used the name Megan to disguise the fact that she had been talking to a man named Richard. And their messages weren't just flirtatious. They were intimate, raw, filled with deep emotions. Then I saw the worst part, private images and videos of them together, nude, during the act. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the screen. Every image, every video was a punch to the gut, a devastating reminder of her betrayal. I felt sick. My entire world had just crumbled. Then it hit me, the tattoo, the tiny heart on her hip with the letter R. It wasn't for Ryan. It was for Richard. With shaking hands, I transferred the files to my phone. I deleted Richard's chat from her device, so she wouldn't know I had discovered the truth. The next morning, I visited a lawyer. I wasn't wasting time. I wanted a divorce. I ensured Emily wouldn't take anything from me. Later that day, I sat at the kitchen table, carefully crafting a message. I attached the photos, texts, and videos, making sure everyone, our friends, our families, knew the truth. When Emily walked through the door, she smiled until she saw my face. "What's going on, Ryan?" she asked, her voice shaky. I handed her my phone. "You tell me." Her face drained of color as she scrolled. "I can explain, Ryan, please." "You've been lying to me." I cut her off. "Who is Richard?" She stammered, her lips trembling. "It was a mistake. I was drunk. It meant nothing." "Just one mistake? You slept with him twice. You got a tattoo for him. You sent him videos. And you told him it was the best night of your life." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry, Ryan. It was the biggest mistake of my life." I shook my head. "No, Emily. The biggest mistake of your life was thinking I wouldn't find out." The fallout was swift. Emily's family saw the evidence. My friends and family rallied behind me. The divorce was finalized quickly. I made sure to protect everything I had worked for. Emily left with nothing. Time passed. The pain lessened. The woman I had loved was gone. But I was stronger, wiser. The truth, no matter how painful, had set me free.